Hi, welcome to EZSSH tutorial series. In this series, we help you get started with EZSSH. As always, if you prefer the text version, the link to our documentation page is in the description down below. In today's video, we'll be creating an Azure policy. So in EZSSH, there is two ways you can generate policies for your endpoints. There is the hybrid policy and the Azure policy. So Azure policy is very good for when you have Azure subscriptions. We'll go through your Azure subscription and actually find all the endpoints. And even if you create new endpoints, we can go in and add them without you having to do anything. And the hybrid one is great for non-Azure resources. For example, if you have on-premise or you have any other cloud. So today we're gonna check out the Azure one. If you want to check out the hybrid creation, make sure to check that video below. One of the important things that you might want to do before doing this is going to settings and checking your domain setup. So as you can see here, one of my subscriptions EZSSH has access to and the other one doesn't. So it's important to make sure that your subscription has access. If you don't know how to do this, make sure to check out that video, and also the documentation to it will be down below. Today we're going to do the subscription that actually has access to it. So we're going to go ahead and create new policy, and in here we're going to set the policy name. So let's call it Azure East. Notification email, we're going to send it to our awesome engineers at Keytos.io. So this is basically any problem, or basically anytime they add a new VM or something, you'll get an email saying like, hey, we detected this new VM and it has been added to your policy. Scope type, so we allow to do it subscription or resource group. So you could have policies per resource group or per subscription, and any endpoints inside that scope will be able to be accessed by EZSSH. In this case, we're going to do subscription, and we're going to select our Azure subscription number 1. By default, we do that anybody that is an owner or contributor in the Azure subscription is an owner of this policy, just because if you are able to change the Azure resources, you should be able to change this policy. But if you want to add other RBAC roles, you could add any of the included RBAC roles. Like if you want your storage file people to be able to manage this policy, you can do that. Or you could add AAD owners. In this case, I'm just going to add myself. And then, as you can see, we automatically went and scanned the subscription, and we can see that there's a VM called test VM with this IP address. And if it had a fully qualified domain name, it would appear here. By default, we won't go and add EZSSH to the VM. You'll have to do that manually, but we can actually go and add it. And what basically this does is we run a script that will add our CA to be trusted by that VM. We don't install an agent or anything, and we do all this through VM extensions. So we actually never log into your VM. It's all done by Azure, and that's why we only offer it with Azure. And then in this case, I'm just going to leave it unclicked. And then we have to create our access policies. So each policy can have multiple access policies, and this is just kind of like the rules. So basically the top part is what endpoints and who can manage the policy. And then in here, it's the rules of who has access to what. So like in here, you can have one, for example, for your root credentials, and this one you might be more restricted, and then you might have some for less privileged users, with more users being able to log in, or maybe not requiring manual approval or something. So in this one, let's just call it root access. And then the maximum certificate length is how long you want your users to be able to access this, the maximum amount. The certificates can be from 1 hour up until a full week. We recommend doing it less than a day. Each person should be able to get a new credential every day. For this one, let's just set it up to 2 hours. And here you add all the Linux principles. So like you could have like root, and you add if it's sudo or not. This is just to help us with the scripts that we create. And you can have other principles like, I don't know, engineer. And let's say that one is not sudo. Then after that, you have your auto approved. And this is a cool thing about the Azure policies. If you already manage all your access through Azure, and you might have Azure PIM for privilege access management and all those things, you don't want to also have to manage it here. So you can be like, anybody that is an owner has automatic access, because if you can control it, you can have access. Or you could do it with AAD objects. So like you could say that this group has access, or a certain specific service principal has access to it, and that's auto approved. And then there's a manually approved. So for manually approved, you have a group of approvers that are the ones that would grant you access to it and allow the requesters. So this is anybody that could request access to be approved by the approvers. So here, once again, you could do it based on Azure roles or based on the actual objects managed by EZSSH. So you could have that, once again, let's just keep it consistent. Anybody that is an owner is able to approve, and anybody that is a contributor is able to request. And you could have the same with AAD approvers, but we're just gonna leave it with roles. So once you have the policy that looks how you want it to look, you go ahead and do add policy. You can create as many policies inside the policy. In this case, we're just gonna create one. We're gonna go ahead and do create policy. All right, so once a policy is created, if you selected the Azure principals, we would actually go ahead and add them in the background. It might take a few minutes. You will get an email confirmation saying whether or not we were able to do it. And we also offer scripts. So you have the cloud init. So this, you can set it up in your Terraform or your ARM templates, or if you're going through the portal, you can do it. So like, make sure to check those videos down below to see how you can do it in each one of them. You just select your distro, and it'll go ahead and add the key, and then it'll create the users, and it'll make them admin if they're admin and all that. And for existing VMs, we offer this bash script that this is actually the one that we run through with the VM extensions. If you select the principals, will be added automatically. So you can download this and run it in all your machines as well. So this is how you create your Azure policy. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.